Okay, welcome everyone to this metta session. Uh, and just like the other day, I'd like to just speak a little bit about metta and and then we'll do a guided metta meditation. But even as we get settled for this session, let's just take a minute to arrive, to find some ease in our body, finding a comfortable seat. And as we get started today, I just want to be honest that I do have a lot of energy in my heart because I feel both very grateful to be with you all. I feel an immense amount of gratitude for this opportunity that we can be in retreat together, that we're taking all your busy time, whether it's an hour just for this session and you're watching the recording, or if it's the whole week or the working retreat. Just a lot of gratitude. And and also, I am honestly a little nervous because because I care. I really do care about your practice. I care about the advice I give you. And and if you ever feel nervous, one way I like to understand that nervousness is a way of, oh, this is just you caring, right? This is just you wanting it to go well because you care. So when I recognize that in that way, it really helps my heart and mind also start to settle. And even as I'm speaking, I'm feeling that nervous energy kind of drop and soften away. So um, that can be a tool of metta. It brings understanding to our experience. It brings context to, okay, you know, how is this mental restlessness, or how is this perhaps nervousness? How is this trying to help me? Um, what can I learn from this instead of just judge it, condemn it, or push it away? So, yes, um, today I wanted to speak a little bit also about um, what came up in our Q&A earlier. So, I have to shout out our Sangha, our beautiful MIDL Sangha, um, Krister and An and a few others who brought up this um, question around going back to work and practicing and seeing how we can carry the momentum of this practice into our working life. Many of us are on working retreat. Most of us actually are doing working retreat. So, Krister's answer inspired me. He pointed out that MIDL is not just concentration technique. We're not just training samadhi. We're really practicing the entirety of the Noble Eightfold Path. And so that includes um, panya, or clear seeing, insight practice, and it also includes sila. It includes how we show up in the world. It's called mindfulness in daily life, as he pointed out. And it's like, right, of course. So easy to forget when we have a dedicated practice, or we're sitting a lot more in a retreat like setting. And so it's part of what I wanted to talk about today in this session is how can we invite wholesome qualities, and particularly metta, loving kindness, into our work environment. And that's also how I would like to guide the meditation today. We'll do a metta meditation around and including people in our working environment. And it makes sense that this would be an important topic to talk about and to include in our practice because our practice is, as Krishna pointed out, it's relational, right? Uh, we interact with people every day, and we are connected with others. Our lives are so deeply intertwined with the well-being of others and how others are doing, that when we practice with insight, we start to see this. We start to see that our actions affect others, our states of mind, and what we choose to, how do we respond to our states of mind? They have an impact on others. And this is why this is a huge reason why we train and why we practice and why we engage in this liberating path. It is for ourself and out of love for ourself, and it is also out of love for others, out of this loving kindness to bring the fruit of our practice into our relationships. And because we spend so much time at work, we really do, it makes sense that this can be a part of our practice, and like we can really take it as an arena that we can grow within. So yeah, so in that spirit, kind of wanted to talk about metta in the workplace. So, you know, part of our practice of metta, the reason why it's such a great connection with insight, as I was speaking 2 days ago or a few days ago, is because it really, when we practice metta, we are practicing insight, and when we practice insight, we're practicing metta. And one like tip or one approach in MIDL that we build insight, that Stephen was talking about in one of the earlier talks, is around building continuity of mindfulness in our body. So based on the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha talks about establishing mindfulness in our body first. That is the first foundation of mindfulness, the first practice that we build into our body, into our practice, is mindfulness of our body. And it's such a beautiful anchor, as Stephen has talked about. And it's an anchor where we can feel. It's a place where we can feel Vedana, and we can see the relationship between mind states and our body. It's where we can see anatta. And it's also a place where we can feel metta. We can really feel the heart qualities in our body and in our mind when we're anchored in our body. And metta is such a beautiful quality that, again, it's so wholesome that we can feel its resonance in our body, in our mind, and in our actions. So it's a really great way to continue our practice of insight even when we get really busy and maybe the structure of our attention has to change. Right? Now we have to keep track of that deadline, and we need to go make these copies. And oh, now I just got an important email from my boss that I have to drop everything and turn towards, right? We're busy, and our attention is shifting in our daily life and in our workplace. So we want to have some kind of anchor to help us navigate the churning, changing nature of what we come into contact with, right? Everything is constantly changing. This isn't a bug in the system. This is reality. This is a default mode, right? This is a quality of impermanence that we're seeing and tracking. And in order to track that in our workplace, it really helps to have our mind established within our body, and even more so when we can establish it within the contented heart of metta within our body. It's just so powerful because we can more clearly see when these hindrances arise. We have a contrast. We can see, oh, what is my relationship to this email that I'm getting? Or what is my relationship to this person critiquing my work? If we are mindful in our body and we've set an intention to cultivate wholesome states of loving kindness towards ourselves and others, whenever we see a hindrance, we'll be like, yes, okay, great. I feel the aversion. I feel the restlessness in my body. I feel the impatience, right? So I feel what all these different, we'll be able to feel the contrast of them. So in this practice of mindfulness of our body, and when we enjoy that practice, we also can build in the metta. So we can begin to respond to others with that contentedness and loving and kind ways. And metta really does harmonize our relationships with ourself and others. And that is a quality of sila. You know, Stephen talks about how sila, I just love this, how he defines sila as harmonizing. How we harmonize with wholesomeness and with really with reality, softening into reality. How we learn to accept what's here, and then we learn how to respond in a way that creates more harmony. And metta is a really powerful way of harmonizing with other people. And so we create this kind of feedback loop with mindfulness of our body and metta, right? Where we feel good in our body, we feel grounded, we feel we can see a little bit more clearly, and then we start to build in the metta on top of that contented presence, and our life becomes an expression of harmony. And that's really why that's a huge reason, going back to why we want to practice in our workplace. And it will pay off in our seated practice, of course, when before work and after work, we'll start to see this momentum continue. And of course, we are human, so inevitably, not if, but when we notice irritation arise or when we act unskillfully, we can also use metta as a way of understanding and forgiving our unskillfulness and being kind and gentle to ourselves when we got lost in forgetting during our workday. So we want to reward our mind for coming for reward our mind for our practice, showing our mind that it's safe to be in our body, that it's skillful to be grounded with mindful in our body, and that we can respond in ways that are really harmonizing with others when we're there and when we're practicing with metta. So initially it might feel a little clunky, right? Initially it might feel like maybe we need to get lost in our work to be successful, or we need to abandon our body to get the work done. But that's not my experience in terms of what I would like, what really creates harmony, right? What are we really practicing? Are we practicing to become the greatest problem solver in the world? Or are we practicing to understand suffering and freedom from suffering, and how to create harmony within our mind and with others? In order to do that, we do need to have some kind of mindfulness established in our body. We can establish mindfulness within our mind, Chitta Nupassana. There's 4 foundations of mindfulness, but with our body, it's such a powerful anchor, and it's really restful. It's so restful to just be within the body. And I know that if, if you're working in this world, it can be hard to find rest. It can seem difficult. It can seem like, where, when do I meditate? You know, I got 5 minutes in my lunch break, right? Right. Where and how do we rest? How do we find this restful, easeful, joyful presence of samadhi? How do we build with that if we're so busy? And this practice of mindfulness of being in our body and combining it with metta, it is a place of refuge where we can rest. And even though, again, it might seem clunky at first or a little awkward, that the smoothness and the gentleness of the practice will actually make our work more efficient in the long run. There's this famous quote. I might end up saying it wrong, but I believe it's by Bruce Lee. And he says, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So this idea that when our mind becomes smooth through this practice of harmonizing, through this practice of mindfulness of our body and mindfulness with metta, it might seem slow, but in effect, it's actually more efficient and therefore perhaps faster, or more efficient, more productive. So I just want us to play with that idea this week. If you're going back to work and you're doing a work retreat, or you're listening to this later and you're busy with work, I just want to drop this in, not as an ultimate truth, like, oh, I know, like that I know that this is right. It's just been true in my experience, and it's something that I would just pose as a question. Is this true for you in your work? If you try it out, what is it like for you? So that's the invitation. And so for this meditation, what we're going to do is we are going to do a traditional metta meditation. We're going to establish mindfulness in our body first through relaxing and softening. And then we're going to go through a few traditional categories of beings. We'll first start with perhaps a mentor within our line of work, maybe someone who taught you your trade, or who was a really inspiring leader to you within your workplace, a benefactor, so to speak. So we'll start with a benefactor, then maybe we'll do, well, actually, we'll start with ourself first. Traditionally, we start with ourself. It might, if it's difficult, sometimes we have difficulty with ourselves. We'll start with ourself. If in the future, if you want to change the order, you can go easiest to hardest. So we'll actually start with ourself. Then we'll do the benefactor. Then we'll do a neutral coworker, and then we'll do a difficult coworker. Perhaps not your most sworn enemy at work. Maybe just someone who can kind of irritate you. Or maybe you know this person, you've had conflict with them in the past, or that if there's a potential there. And in this process, we are kind of inviting a visualization, so to speak, right? We're bringing this being to our heart's mind's eye. If you can picture them visually, great. If you can't picture them, no problem. As long as you get a general felt sense of this being, that is enough. And through this process of visualization or calling this being up, we are practicing, right? We're practicing what it will be like when we encounter them this week when we go back to work, or when we eventually return to work if you're doing a full retreat. And it gives our mind and our heart a fighting chance to remember, oh yeah, I remember practicing with his being and practicing the metta. So it's kind of like a dress rehearsal, you could say, or like a rough draft. And then we get to put the play in the real world. But a lot of studies have shown that when you visualize what you'll do or you visualize how things will play out, sometimes you get a higher success rate of responding in the way that you practiced. So there is a correlation there. Um, and that's what we can do we can do this practice out of loving kindness for ourselves and for the people that we work with the intention to bring this practice, the mindfulness of our body, mindfulness of metta, uh, mindfulness of Vedana, mindfulness of mind states into our workday. Understanding that that is how samadhi is built. That's how we'll carry the retreat forward. Okay, so with that, go ahead and find if you need to make any adjustments, you can mindfully move, get yourself comfortable. And then when you're ready, you can gently allow your eyes to close. Becoming aware of the sounds in the room. And then beginning to notice sensations of the body. Bringing kindness to our body. If we notice any tightness or tension, we can gently soften and relax those muscles. Perhaps riding the exhalation of the out breath to drop a little deeper into our body. Feeling the muscles around our eyes soften and release. Feeling our jaw unclench. Inviting our shoulders to soften and relax down our back. Seeing if we can notice any feelings of enjoyment within our heart mind of this physical relaxation, giving our mind permission to enjoy it. If you notice a variety of emotions or thoughts swirling, that's okay. Simply softening our relationship to them, allowing them. When we allow them, we don't follow them, but we let go of the effort of trying to change it. Giving ourselves grace and kindness. Noticing what a relief that is, that we're off the hook. And paradoxically, when we soften and relax, when we let thoughts and feelings come and go on their own, we can see that they are not us. And we can also feel the presence of our body a little bit more vividly. We can invite our heart and mind to rest within the body. Letting go and landing and settling. Noticing that the body is here with virtually no effort. Every time you notice that the mind has wandered or forgotten about the body, we can recognize that our body is here ready to receive our heart. We can simply let go, and it's already present. As we allow our heart mind to steep in the presence of our body, we can begin to notice how kind the body is. And that there's so much contentment here already when we rest within it. So, from this place of establishing our mindfulness within our body, we can very clearly notice if our heart becomes agitated, or if we start feeding restlessness. And it's also a space where we can meet those hindrances with metta, softening into our experience. So we can recite metta phrases as a way to cultivate this wholesome mind of loving kindness. First, towards ourself and the experience that we're meeting here. May I be happy. Feeling the resonance of this wish. And we can be playful with our phrases. May I have a good day at work. We can hold these wishes of metta in our heart and really feeling in our body the waves of wholesomeness that emanate from it. May I be healthy. May I be safe. Giving our mind permission to unify around this wish. Understanding that it will create harmony for ourselves and others. And may I live and work with ease. Then we can bring to mind a benefactor, Perhaps someone who gave us a job, a teacher, trained us. Anyone in our workplace who looks out for us, recognizing their kindness. We can repeat the phrases, holding them in our heart center and enjoying the harmony that we can feel from these wise intentions, from these wise wishes. May they be happy. May they have a good day at work. May they be healthy. May they be safe. May they live and work with ease. Moving to a neutral person, maybe someone we work with, that we see around the office, but maybe we don't really work very closely with them. Someone we don't have strong, pleasant, or unpleasant experiences with. And then bringing them to your mind or heart's eye, wishing them well. And then we can bring to mind a difficult person who we may experience in the workplace or in our life. Recognizing that they too wish for well-being all the time for themselves and for their loved ones. Bringing them to our heart center, we can wish them well. And we can even maybe notice how it takes more effort to put conditions on the metta, that allowing the metta to flow freely for their health and their happiness is actually less effort. So we can soften into those metta phrases, enjoying their wholesomeness. And so we can begin to relax our attention, bringing it back to the borders of our body, sitting here. Noticing the continuity of our mindfulness with the metta. Through that practice, our body has always been here in the background. We can feel the harmony within our body and within our heart mind. Noticing how smooth and pleasant it is. And then when you're ready, you can start to become aware of the sounds in the room, inviting gentle movement back into your body. When you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And we can recite these metta phrases together, perhaps even including people of our work within the prayer. I'm going to put the chat in the chat. I'm putting the PDF so you can follow along there if you'd like. I'm going to share my screen and we can sing together. Imaya Damanu Dhamma Patipatiya Padam Pujami Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Dhammang Pujami Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Sanghang Pujami Ahang Awero Homi Abhya Padro Homi Anigo Homi Sukiyatanang Pariharami Mama Mata Pitu Acharya Cha Nyati Maita Cha Sabrahma Charinocha Awera Hontu Abhya Paja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukiyatanang Pariharantu Imasming Arame Sabe Yogino Awera Hontu Abhya Paja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukiyatanang Pariharantu Amakam Haraka Dewata Imasming Ahare Imasming Awase Imasming Arame Araka Dewata Awera Hontu Abhya Paja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukiyatanam Pariharantu Sabe Sata Sabe Pana Sabe Buddha Sabe Pugala Sabe Attabhava Pariyapanya Saba Itiyo Sabe Purisa Sabe Iti Purisa Sabe Anita Purisa Sabe Arya Sabe Anarya Sabe Dewa Sabe Manusa Sabe Winipatika Awera Hontu Abhya Paja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukiyatanam Pariharantu Dukkha Muchantu Yata Lada Sampatito Mavika-chantu Kamasaka Idang no punya bagang Sabah satanang Pajema Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much, everyone. So, if you're going back to work tomorrow, or you are going back to work today, wishing you well-being at work, and may we all continue our practice, whether we're on retreat or we're going back to work. Be well, everyone. Bye.